You show up and you say yes, right? We've got personal board meetings where people are coming together every month to help each other. Well, it doesn't work if you don't show up. And when somebody calls you up and says, hey, can you help me with, you say yes. And I just think that creates beautiful outcomes. We don't go into it feeling sold. If somebody asks for help, we say yes. We trust that everybody's a great quality human being and are there to help us. So it's easy to show up and it's easy to say yes.
Welcome back to the Thoughts on Selling podcast. Today, it is my absolute pleasure to have Lauren Bailey join me to talk about all things sales. And we're not quite sure what else, because Lauren and I have been on a wide-ranging series of conversations. We've prepped heavily for this one. Right, Lauren?
He's lying. He's 100% lying to you
Exactly.
right now. Yeah.
So I forgot to tell you this, Lauren, but my first question is always, and other people really get stymied on this one, but who is Lauren Bailey?
Lauren Bailey is an illusion. Here's my provocative answer. Funnily enough, the first thing that came to my mind, Lee, is that Lauren Bailey is not actually my real name.
Are you in the witness protection program?
It is not true. No, my name is Lauren Bailey Shar. I started my business 16 years ago, my first, Factor 8, a sales training company, and I was single at the time. And then I met the love of my life, my second marriage, Steve Shar. And it was really important to him that I take his name. And it was really important to me that I didn't. And so we had a bet. And it was Team Bailey versus Team Shar at our wedding ceremony and reception. And it was hilarious. It was like multi-heat corporate event relay races. Like the Dizzy Bat was the tiebreaker. And I lost and Steve won. There's a funny picture of it hanging in my hallway. And so my real name is Lauren Bailey Shar, which I've never said out loud before, but that's what's on my passport. And I am a serial entrepreneur. I've started 3 successful businesses. I'm someone who loves to, like you, Lee, shine spotlights on other people, especially great leaders. My mission in life is to help make people more successful so that they love going to work, because that's who we spend all our time on.
Mm-hmm.
If we're miserable at work, we're miserable everywhere. I am a wife. I'm a mother of boys. I am an adventurist. I think I've traveled through 60 different countries. And I would say the last thing I'll tell you is I'm an optimist, a positive, happy person. But I have had at least 3 different teams nickname me slave driver independently, which is also may tell you that I'm a bit of a workaholic and a driver.
So, Lauren, I'm going to sum you up in 3 words.
All right, do it for me.
Always creating possibilities.
Ooh, have you used that before, or did you just come up with that right now?
Well, you and I have some shared background where creating new possibilities is a common phrase. And you know what? That's what strikes me when I talk to you. You're always creating possibilities.
Yes. I'm always taking action. I might say is I would create those 3 words, because I'll tell you some of the inspirations of businesses or initiatives or programs I've started have been because I'm just sick of people talking about it.
Hey, no fucking swearing.
Yes, thank you. I self-muted myself, but I was just so fucking sick of people coming and saying, why aren't there more women in revenue leadership? And it was like the same conversation every year at the stupid women's breakfast, you know? It was like, you could have replaced this conversation from 2016 through 17 through. So finally in 19, I decided, you know what? I think I can fix this. I'm not that girlfriend you come to when you want to vent. I'm the one who's like, all right, let's solve for this. Let's take action.
Yep. So my daughter is really clear. Sometimes she says, Dad, I need you to help me fix this. And sometimes she says, Dad, I just need you to listen. She's really clear too on that.
Very well trained. I think that if everybody in the world could do that, we would have less divorce.
Yep.
And it's true. My sons have learned that as well. Dad's who you go to when you want, right? Unless they tell me like, stop, I just want a sympathetic ear.
So remind me, have your kids gone through Landmark? Did you say they're doing it now?
We are signed up to do it in this next month. I did the Landmark Forum and Advanced courses. This is for people who have never done it before. It's like 10 years of therapy in a weekend. So if you're into self-development and actualization and, you know, making your life better and being a better person, it's a really cool thing. Downsides for sure. Like, you know, we won't go into it, but I promised myself that someday my mythical children would go through this. So I did this after marriage 1, before marriage 2. I finished and it was January. And the reason I remember it was January, Lee, is that as I was coming home, I thought, how do I make sure I don't just go back to normal? Have you ever had one of those experiences in life where it just feels
Absolutely.
it feels like it has the potential to be transformative, but we know ourselves. Like the human body resists change. The brain works to never have to make a difference. And through my background in education and human behavior change, I was like, I know damn well by Monday, I'm going to forget all of this and I'm going to go back to doing the same dumb shit.
Well, that's why Landmark does the 8-week seminars after the 3-day weekend.
Well, I decided I needed more. So I jumped fully clothed into my pool in January. And that was like, don't forget, big girl, you can do this. Like you feel so alive, you're going to do this crazy thing. And so I wouldn't forget what it was. And it did. I came out a happier, healthier, more self-actualized person if you're into Maslow's hierarchy, which I think is brilliant. So yes, the whole family is signed up, including my niece who's staying with us right now.
Nice. I did the forum in about 2002, I think it was. My wife waited for several years because she was concerned that if she became self-aware, self-actualized, she would leave me.
I mean, that's honesty right there, Lee. What happened?
She did the forum. She didn't leave me. We've now been married almost 40 years. Both our kids went through the forum. We did the advanced course. She did SELP. I did the communications courses, which used to be called the love courses. And just to bring it back to people that think all this is hoo-hoo California shit, it is.
Kind of is.
And thank you, Werner Erhard, right? It helped me to get clarity around my purpose in life and who I need to be for the people around me. And every salesperson calling on enterprise accounts, trying to change the world, should have some level of that self-awareness and understanding of the power that they bring to conversations with other people. Enrollment is, a big part of Landmark is about enrollment, learning how to motivate, touch, move, and inspire others to do things differently. Again, that's Sales 101.
It's so true. But I'll tell you, here's another one that I'll take for Sales 101 that is even more important at a leadership lesson. One of the lessons I took away from that was integrity. And by integrity, it means you literally always do what you say you're going to do. And I didn't realize that. I mean, it's been so many years since I did Landmark. I think it was 2007 for me. I didn't realize that that is why it bugs me so much. You know how we just talked about, I'm not the person who can talk about it without taking action.
Right.
You know, when you meet somebody, they're like, oh, we should do lunch. I'm like, okay, you ready to schedule it right now?
Yeah.
If I say we should do lunch, I'm going to fucking schedule lunch, right? But the people who are blah, 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 we should, we could, we need to. It just, if you say it, you do it. And what that sometimes means is saying less, right? Like as my kids were growing up and I was trying to always be true to my word. Like when you really look at it, it's crazy how often we say things we don't do. And so when you decide that you are going to have 100% integrity with your word, you get really careful with your words. So, right? No, we'll play it later. Man, I had to go play that game later. Mm-hmm. So you have to be honest up front instead.
Right.
No, I don't want to play that game.
Right. Yeah. Two of my favorite books on sales focus on this. One is How to Win Friends and Influence Neighbors. How to Win Friends and Influence People, I guess it is.
It could be neighbors.
Yeah, Neighbors too. And that was written in the 30s, if I remember correctly. And the other is Don Miguel Ruiz, The 4 Agreements.
The 4 Agreements. I knew it.
And his first agreement is be impeccable with your word.
There it is. Don't take things personally.
That's number 2.
I'm blanking. What's 3 and 4?
Don't make assumptions and always do your best.
There you go.
And the cool thing about always do your best, it's not the same every day. Sometimes your best is great. Sometimes your best is pretty good. That's okay. Whatever it is, always do your best. And then his son, Don Jose Ruiz, I think his name is. I met him in call
him Don Jr.
DJ. Yeah. He wrote the 5th agreement. Be skeptical, but be open.
Interesting. Now, I tell you, like, it's a legacy, right? It's like the 6 habits of highly effective people. I have to be honest, I am a little skeptical about that because you can just add a new one every year and for the profit margins.
Yeah, right.
Are there 6 habits? When are we? The 18th and a half habit, the 20th habit, the 23rd agreement.
It's the same reason why event t-shirts always have the year on it so that they can sell new events the next year.
Yeah, 100%.
So be impeccable with your word.
I did 2 agreements for my new community that you see behind me, Legacy. And we can talk about the inspiration for it and whatnot later, but it's really...
No. Wait. Let's start with the why first. Simon Sinek says...
that is, you do want to start with the why.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I found a hole in the market and what was lacking something as a leader of a certain stage and certain age and heard that over and over again from friends and thought, you know what, I'm going to solve for this instead of just continuing to talk about it. So
Wait. That was the what?
that was the what? The why?
What was your why? I want you to go deeper.
Yeah, thank you for the coaching. The real reason behind legacy community was that my best friend died. So she was my person. You know, we all have one person, and sometimes we're married to them, sometimes we're not. Lynn was my person. We did probably 40 cities around the world together over a period of 10 to 15 years. I don't have a family. I had Lynn. She was my person. And when she died, there was this giant Lynn-sized hole in my life. And I realized that I had been so busy at work and raising a family that my friendships were my college roommate and Lynn, right? And the people I trusted and the people I went to for advice and the people. So she was like 10 people in my life, and I lost them all at that one time. And in the same periodly, my 50th birthday came up, and it made it a kind of extra sad. It was like, who the hell am I going to invite? And I started thinking about surrounding yourself and who we surround ourselves with, right? You are a product of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And right, it was like, okay, well, it's not Amy from college, that my bestie, and it's not Lynn. I spend all of my other time at work. And it got me moving down this path of the people I admired most at work. And sometimes they were people I admired because they were brilliant, successful leaders. And other times they were people I admired because they were really amazing humans. And then I asked myself, who's both? And I reached out to them and like literally asking if we could be friends. These were some women and men who had come and given back in my girls club community, helping rise the next generation of women. Yeah. And I just was so impressed by them as humans and as leaders. It felt like passing a note in middle school, like, can we be girlfriends? And, you know, and they checked the yes box, and we started doing fun things together, and we started traveling, and we started, anyway, it's gone on now for years. And I very purposely picked people I admired. I very bravely, it sounds like I'm giving myself credit, but I was nervous to cross the work-home barrier, if you will, and build real friendships at work. There were people who were clients of mine 20 years ago. Regina Manfredi, who is now the first person we launched in a podcast episode, she was a client 20 years ago. And I've just loved her ever since, but got to spend no time with her. So legacy was the idea of making my life better by being really intentional about collecting 5 inspiring people that kind of checked the work side of my brain and the beautiful human, I want to be a better person, development, like this conversation of landmark side of my brain. And there's very few people who cross over in that Venn diagram, if you will. And as I found them and spent more time with them and connected them with each other, it just started to multiply and get bigger and greater. And the joy has gone up and the inspiration has gone up and my work productivity and ideas have gone up. And right, it was just a win, 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 win. So the real why was a deep loneliness and lack of connection.
Yeah.
And the real outcome has been a positive shift in the work and the personal side of my life. That was a really fucking long answer. Sorry.
Perfect. We've got unlimited cloud storage, so we're just going to go till we're done. So what was the outcome? So now we know the why. We got a glimpse of the what. Tell me what the result.
Right. Sadly, I'm over 50 and I can't even remember why I brought it up.
Because I said chocolate or vanilla, choose.
Oh, do you know what it was? We were talking about 4 agreements and 6 habits. And I have 2 golden rules in legacy. And it's you show up and you say yes, right? We've got personal board meetings where people are coming together every month to help each other. Well, it doesn't work if you don't show up. And when somebody calls you up and says, hey, can you help me with, you say yes. And I just think that creates beautiful outcomes. We don't go into it feeling sold. If somebody asks for help, we say yes. We trust that everybody's a great quality human being and are there to help us. So it's easy to show up and it's easy to say yes. But we were talking about golden rules, and that's what brought it up for me. Like if you have to boil it all down, what does it come down to? You show up and you say yes. And I think that's what great, great leaders do. And great friends.
Is this something that's local to Phoenix?
Actually, no, it's national.
It's national.
Yeah, it has grown beyond it. Yeah. Our goal is a quality membership of senior level executives and founders who show up and help each other. So we share advice and encouragement in monthly personal board meetings where we're talking about set subjects or you're bringing in a challenge. And we share intellectual property and templates. We share opportunities and referrals. We share help. We have monthly education where we're sharing ideas and brainstorming together. But we're primarily virtual because we're all too damn busy to drive to something every month. And then once a year, we've got an amazing retreat. And we just got back from that. That was in Denver in September. And it was really transformative.
That's very cool.
You'll appreciate that because it's like, sure, it's a whole bunch of business people, but we did a little of the woo-woo California shit too. We had, one of the discussion circles we had around life and legacy was untangling your identity from work, which is something so many senior executives struggle with. And we had tears on the guys that were tearing up in that conversation. And we also talked about leading during AI. There was business and personal. And I think that it's a beautiful thing when you can cross them together.
That's really interesting, Lauren, because my perspective is I fought to let the mask down early on personally. And then eventually I did. And then I fought to let the mask down at work. And then at one point I said, fuck it, you get what you get, right? I am the same person at work and in my personal life. And that hasn't always worked out.
But it certainly attracts the right people.
It does. It does. So there's one me, right? There is one me. And sometimes it's a little unfiltered. Sometimes it's a little unthrottled. And in some corporate cultures, that's not great. And you know what?
Yeah.
Screw them.
Yeah, that's not your place. They're not your people. It is different at work. So you and I don't live in the corporate structure, full time. And that's how it made it easier for us to be, there's no masks. I am the same me at my mother-in-law's and at work and at the school and with my girlfriends. And now I've crossed those worlds very often. But the vulnerability and authenticity that most leaders are enjoying in legacy is new to them because there is a bit of a mask that we wear, especially in sales leadership. When you go to a sales conference, you are your value prop. You are your suit. You are your, right? The messaging. We're trying to get business. And we try really hard in this community to let that go by the wayside. So the very first onboarding, we're introducing ourselves. We call it the whole person intro. Okay, this is what I do, but this is who I am. And here's what might be next for me. And I think we all need more spaces to do that. We're missing some of that places and opportunities to be authentic and to make real connections instead of trying to show up in a curated social media ready LinkedIn value prop conference. Here's my business card. Can I sell you insurance kind of way? And that's what it feels like to me. In fact, one of the first communities I joined was of women entrepreneurs. And the plus side was I'd never had role models like that before. And I sort of assumed competition because that's what happened to me in the corporate world. Because, there's two of us in a skirt in the whole building. But this group showed me that you can collaborate and you can help each other. Unfortunately, they also showed me that they were perfect. So they kept showing up with this veneer and I would go back from every event and cry in my hotel room because they had their shit together and I didn't. They had real businesses and I was still figuring it out. And on year 4, maybe 5, the founder of the group, the great Jill Conrath, who is a well-celebrated best-selling sales book author.
Jill,
She's in her bare feet. Yeah, at
she's
the bar.
Very wise. Yep.
She's so wise, right? She's a good Midwestern woman. In her bare feet at the bar, she's like, LB, I think you've got the biggest business here. And Lee, instead of being excited, I quit because I was like, where was the vulnerability? Where was the help? If any one of these women would have been like, this is hard and I don't have this figured out yet and I need help with. But we were all so busy trying to show up perfect and, sell the dream and the glossy brochure. And I don't think that helps anybody.
Do you remember the exercise? I think it was in the forum. I don't think it was the advanced course. 10 minutes wandering around, looking at people and saying, what do they think about me? What does she think about me? What does she think about me? What does she think about me? Eventually you get it. Nobody is thinking about you. Everyone's thinking about how did they look? And people started bursting out in laughter one after the next.
I love that. I don't remember that exercise, but I'm so excited that my kids are going to have it and go through that. They're at that middle school phase where, everything is humiliating. And I remember feeling that way, right? Everybody's watching me and everybody's judging me. And the truth is nobody is. And by the way, I'm going to relate that to sales because I feel like we should do that. We feel like sometimes when we're the seller, gee, I've already called them twice. They're going to be thinking, what am I doing? They're going to think I'm crazy. They're going to think I'm pushy. They're going to think, And the truth is, they're not thinking about you at all.
At all.
And that's why in today's noisy environment, the cadence has doubled and tripled with how many touches you need to make.
Yeah.
Because not only are they not thinking about you at all, there's so much noise happening. Like they didn't even recognize you tried. They didn't remember talking to you the last time they spoke to you.
Right. So how does a good salesperson break through that noise and clutter? I mean, really break through.
It's so freaking hard right now. My answer will be different than other great salespeople. So I'm
What's your
excited to hear what other answers you've gotten. But my answer is through authenticity and through vulnerability and through being just very, very, very human. So I don't use AI to write messages. Or if I do, I go back through and, edit and put myself in it. I add some humor. I will make fun of myself. I'll use interesting subject lines. My style has always been to talk to you like we've been pals for a long time. You and I click. We have similar styles. Like there's no show. This is just us.
Yeah.
And so I think that the more human I am, the better response we get. How about you? What's your answer to that?
Well, your first answer was my answer, being authentic, right? Authenticity is the dividing force between those that really care about not just, so half a step back. The purpose of selling is not selling. The purpose of selling is buying.
The purpose of selling is buying. Sure.
So I'll attribute that to Jeff Lipsius, who is a fairly well-known author and one of the founders of the Inner Game Institute. No, sorry. Where's the Inner Game? There we go. Here we go. The Inner Game Institute, originally the Inner Game of Tennis, which is trust yourself. Don't think. The purpose of selling is buying. So we are so focused on the what and the how much, and customers don't give a shit, right? They have jobs to do. They have patient outcomes to monitor. They have 360-degree views of the customer to create. They have services to improve, right? When a salesperson aligns to that, then the customer goes, yeah, you can be in my boat. You can help me make the boat go faster. There's less risk talking to you than not talking to you. And so authenticity is number one. Curiosity for me is number two. Be curious. Right? Ask the whys, right? When we're young, we have the why thing down pat, and it's beaten out of us.
Don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is beaten out of us.
Yeah. Stop asking why. Stop asking questions. Sorry. No, can't. I love discovery. Discovery is my favorite part of the selling process.
Oh my God, 100%. Me too. The rest gets boring. But I don't think that we do a good job of that. Now listen, my industry and my business for 20 years has been training, right? That my first company and second Factor 8 and Girls Club, we are training frontline people. That's what we're hired to do. But it breaks my heart every year because we spend about 7 times more on tools for them than we do on development for them. And the latest generations to join the front line of sales, like we work with the first and second sales jobs, right? The BDRs, the AEs, the 23-year-olds, and they're being given scripts and tools, not training on having conversations and building rapport. And these kids are afraid of the phone, right? My kids text me. To get them to actually pick up a phone and have a conversation with somebody actually is harder to train to the outcome today than it was 10 years ago. Yeah. And yet we're spending less and less. We think we're going to solve it with AI and more cadences and more noise. And look what's happened to our universe. And the trust for salespeople then continues to go down. It's just ridiculous.
It's just a race to the bottom.
It's a race to the bottom. Yeah. In fact, I have to do something similar that you said. The purpose is buying. I like to say something similar about a sales call, right? You think about a lot of the BDRs out there where they're going and trying to book a meeting. And so they go into every meeting with the goal of the call is a meeting, which is why the call sucks. And so what I try to work with managers on is training instead. The goal of the call is engagement.
Yeah, to connect. Yeah.
Right. And when you get that authentic engagement and connection, then the outcome is the meeting or the demo or the sale or the whatever it is. And we manage to that the wrong way, right? So as leaders, when we go in and we ask about dials and connects and KPIs and quotes, we're asking about outcomes, yes, but we have to back it up a little bit. So whenever I work with new reps on my teams, instead I don't ask about the numbers. I say, tell me about the conversations you had.
Yeah.
Tell me about what you learned. Tell me about, right? So if we could focus on the engagement and the quality of that, I think that's going to be a key differentiator, especially in the next 5 to 10 years.
When I debrief reps after a power hour, if they've gotten on the phone and talked to someone, my first question is, how did that feel?
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. And the first time I watched the Kaminsky Method with Michael Douglas, he asked an actor that same question as the actor was walking off the stage. I burst out laughing because, wait, Douglas, that's my question. Here's two inside sales stories in stark contrast with one another. Power hour situation. An inside sales rep gets a prospect on the phone and he says some version of, and I'm paraphrasing now, some version of, I have some thoughts on how you can get better results from the project that you're working on, blah, blah, blah. And the prospect says, you must have picked that up on my LinkedIn profile. I appreciate that. I've moved on to a different project. The rep says, okay, thanks, goodbye.
These are jokes you're telling, right?
I wish it were.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, this person clearly hasn't yet heard of the art of the pivot, right?
Right? Or just the conversation.
Tell me about that new project. What happened to the other project, right? Already got rewarded. Here's a cookie. Thanks for being curious, right? Here's the counterpoint. Just recently in the spring, I get a call from an inside sales guy. His actual name is Shay, and props to Shay. He calls me and he gives me a pitch. I remember exactly. I was outside doing the grass or something, right? And he calls me and I answer the phone. Hey, this is Shay with, I can't remember the company. I won't mention the company name. This is Shay with, I have some thoughts on how you can improve your security around such and such. And I said, I'm intrigued. He seems to have a clue. So I said, Shay, tell me about my company. And I'm testing him. He gives me a really nice answer. He goes, well, my research has shown that blah, 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 blah. And I go, Shay, good news and bad news. The good news is you handled the pivot really well. You have a good handle on the company. The bad news, you got bad data. It's not my company. And I was so impressed with Shay's ability to pivot and curiosity, because he does research before each call, and his authenticity and actually wanting to connect. I sent him a text afterwards. I said, Shay, if you ever want to spend time coaching, no strings attached, no cost, I'll meet with you every other week. And we've been doing that ever since.
Oh, I love that. I always feel badly for salespeople who call us sales leaders, trainers, thought leaders, coaches, etc. Right?
Yeah, because we're a tough audience.
They don't know they're being graded.
Yeah, and he was being graded and he got an A. And my purpose is to help people transform. And this young man has made good progress, really good progress from May to today, where he is even more confident now on the phone and a lot more thoughtful about what he's doing. And he's not just setting meetings, he's ensuring that people show up to those meetings and that they're good meetings. And those meetings aren't with him, they're with AEs. So he said, I have a good hit rate, but people don't always show up. So I said, well, let's explore that. Let's do some coaching around that. Let's do some role playing, right? Are people actually enrolled in the conversation, or are they just saying yes to get you off the phone?
Bingo. That is the big difference, isn't it? It's the big difference. You got to get them excited. You got to get them engaged. And if not, they're not going to show up.
So I love opportunities to help like that. And Lauren, you've heard this before. You drop a pebble in a pond, you don't see what happens on the far shore.
But I think that's what's, for us old farts, Lee, that's the joy of it.
Absolutely.
Now, right? Seeing those, there's people that I get emails from or LinkedIn messages who went to my training 20 years ago, right? They're like, I became the number one rep and then I became a manager and now I'm a vice president of sales and I want you to come in and train my new team. And that's probably the very best day I get. That makes a big difference.
Yeah. Sometimes you can pick them out of a crowd too. There was a young guy in the inside sales team at Oracle in Burlington who would ask for extra work. He'd say, okay, our enablement session is over. Can we just sit back to back and make practice calls for 30 minutes? And I'd say, sure, Eric. And he moved from inside rep to field rep to RM, to VP to group VP.
And it's no surprise. Yeah. Oh, I feel like that too. We used to take bets when I was back in corporate. I ran new hire training for IBM programs around the world. And then later in my career, I launched the inside sales centers for SAP around the world. And so I'm sort of like, I became the Yoda of the new hire class. And I could, within a day and a half, predict with about 90% assuredness who was going to make it and who wouldn't. And it's funny, you mentioned a couple of what I call the 3 C's. You mentioned all 3 in your story. So this is my tip when you're looking for the very best salespeople out there. C number 1 is confidence. Sales is a confidence sport. And it just truly is. And I think some people think that you're born with it, but I fully believe that you can teach it. That's a huge part of what we do in Girls Club. So confidence, you can hear it, you respond to it, you need it in sales calls, and you need it to make the next call, right? With the rejection that's there. The second C is curiosity.
Absolutely.
You can't teach people to care, and you can hear scripted questions versus an actual interest. in a call, and people want to talk about themselves. And then the third C is what you were talking about with these two gentlemen you just spoke of, and that's coachability, wanting to get better. And we test that in interviews. Here's a hot tip for any sales leaders out there. I work in inside sales, always have. It's a flag I carry proudly. But you'd be surprised how many people are doing face-to-face interviews for inside sales, right? So we do a mock phone call where they sell whatever the hell they want. It doesn't matter. And then halfway through, we stop them. We give them a little feedback. We ask them to start again. 50% of candidates that are in a final round are coached out at this stage because they cannot take the stop and the feedback, right? The defensiveness will come, and or they cannot make the change. So they'll either get hot under the collar and push back, or they'll come back and do the exact same pitch. And they cannot put into practice the feedback that they got.
They don't internalize the coaching and make use of it.
There it is. Yeah. Thank you. And so then you know, right? Then you know. So that coachability is something you can test for in interviews.
I have an enterprise client, an organization that's looking for a sales leader, and they're testing exactly the same thing in mock role playing in a final round. Right now, they're putting all of their final candidates through these role plays. One of the things they're looking for is when faced with an opportunity to provide some coaching, do they formally shift into coaching mode and potentially ask, are you open to coaching, and provide the coaching, or do they let it go right by? And they believe, this organization believes, that the hiring people believe that ability and interest in coaching is going to be a make or break in the role. So they're testing to that at the leadership level.
I'll tell you what, I've spent a career watching reps get promoted to managers, and I've stood in front of audiences on main stage and I'm like, raise your hand if you've made the mistake, right? You have to make your top rep a manager. And we've all done it. And in teaching those frontline new managers their jobs is the favorite thing I get to do now, because most organizations don't. About 80% do not fund manager training. And when they do, it's, sexual harassment or, kind of generic leadership, not here's the job. Here's what you need to stop doing as a rep. And here's what you need to start doing as a manager. But the number one hardest skill to train, the behavior to change with frontline managers, and this is, again, 20 years and thousands of managers, it's coaching.
Right.
What makes us great reps makes us shit coaches.
Right.
And so it's really tough.
Most managers and organizations are hired from the rep ranks. If I can score goals as a left wing, that doesn't mean I should be, standing on the bench coaching.
100%. It's great that you've played before. That helps. But if you're a competitive top performer, then you're driven by competition. You're driven by the W, right? I mean, we've all been there. We're coin operated, most of us in sales. You've learned how to be self-reliant and independent, right? You've learned how to be a squeaky wheel. Yeah. None of those things help you be a good manager. It's a we sport.
They end up rescuing their reps over and over by closing the deals for them and squashing their growth.
Yes. And listen, I know it because I'm that bad at it too. I have to just admit to that. Like, if I really want my salespeople to develop, I can't be on the sales call with them because I want to save the deal, right? And that's the mistake. Frontline managers, they coach the deal, not the rep. So for me to provide feedback, it has to be recorded after the fact. If it's a real opportunity, then I'm going to do everything I can to save the opportunity. I'm built that way because I'm a seller. It's the same thing that everybody else is fighting against.
There's an easy fix for that, Lauren.
Let's hear it.
I was involved on a men's team where we did a lot of personal development work, a lot of supporting one another. And part of our leadership training was we would work on very specific, complex challenges. In the interest of confidentiality, I can't be specific, but let's say, for example, we were going to take a man's apartment and completely empty it of everything. Take everything out, put it on the lawn, and then put it back. You got 4 hours. The person in charge, as a leadership training technique, would have his hands tied behind his back, would have his mouth taped. He could not say one word. He could not lift anything. And he was in charge.
Tell me more. What happened next?
That's all I can tell you. Just think about the possibilities, right? In terms of holding the context, creating the space, like the mental telepathy of the communicating without your normal means of communicating, helping without any ability to actually help.
The hands, you had me at hands, right?
That's easy.
But then to also shut the mouth, I think that's tough. And I work on that right now as a leader. So as the founder, I've got marketing teams, sales teams, and delivery teams and finance, right? And it's tough. I'm a seller turned training leader turned CEO, and I'm still working on those gaps all the time, believe me. But I find that I'm learning now to switch from solving it with someone.
Mm-hmm.
Like I love a brainstorm,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
If you were to look at the disc profiles behind leaders, so, and especially those who came up with sales, were collaborators and big high personalities and low patience, and we're drivers, which means we like to get our hands dirty. And I'm trying really hard to instead come back and say, these are the goals. Tell me about how we're going to solve it. Bring me the solution. And I've spent years training my team that I'm going to create the solution instead. So as I pictured that scenario that you said, I was picturing breaking my shoulders trying to get my hands on something to move out of the house. That's tough. I bet everybody who heard that pictured something different. And that tells you your go-to style as a leader. And mine's hands-on.
Well, think about the leverage you get when you do less work and more happens. You have less input and more happens. My favorite training of SDRs is 2 statements and a question. And the 2 statements are, first, you're now a salesperson, right? You might have been in senior week last week. Today, you're a class of, and you are a professional. Professionals practice, professionals take their work seriously, etc. And in many cases, you are the first brand touch by the company this customer has ever had.
Yeah.
So you represent the entire company. It could be Oracle, it could be IBM, it could be Joe's Really Good Software and Sushi Bar, right? It doesn't matter. But you might be the first brand touch. And if they take those 2 things on board, then a week later, a month later, I want to ask them the question, how did that feel?
What do you hear most often?
The reason I ask the question is I want to plant the learning. I want to reinforce the learning. And for the same reason, I ask clients to take 5 minutes at the end of each day and write down 3 things that worked well and 1 thing they would do differently. It's not for me, it's for them. It's the introspection of, how did things go? What should I do differently? Again, it's the planting of the knowledge. What did I hear? In most cases, it's, oh my gosh, was that uncomfortable? Oh my gosh, I can't believe I said that. Oh my gosh. And they're not always that polite. Oh my gosh, I was so tongue-tied. Great. What are you going to do about it?
It's true. It moves fast. I think that when we ask reps how sales calls went in their first month or 2 on the job, the true answer is, I don't know. It just moves so fast. They say that about quarterbacks, right?
Right. But if you ask them how it went, they don't know.
I don't even know.
If you ask them how it felt, they know. It sucked. It felt uncomfortable. And usually they'll give you the thinking version of, I think I did really badly on it. No, not how do you think it went? How did it feel?
Yeah, I like that. That's something to incorporate more often. I think that's, by the way, why game tape is so important, right? Why we have to record calls and listen and have a chance to hear ourselves. Here's a hot tip I use all the time. I call it the pause game. And I think it's the number one way I've gotten massive reductions in ramp time when training new teams. So you grab any call, and it doesn't have to be theirs, typical customer call. And about every 5 to 10 seconds, you pause it and ask 2 questions. Question number 1, what's the customer thinking? Right now, you ask that because we're so worried about what we're going to say.
Absolutely.
So getting them trained on the customer mindset and what their experience is in through the sales call from the very beginning is key. The second question you ask after what's the customer thinking is, what would you do next? And the reason for that is because, you know how we said it goes fast for them. They don't even remember what happened, right? Well, the human brain works in sort of folders, file folders. Adult learning concepts will tell you that. And I believe that the reason for ramp time isn't because they don't know what to do. It's because they don't know when to do it, right? And so when you have them practice connecting customer situation to the folder I need in my head, you're literally building neural pathways and active recall, which shortens the learning curve dramatically. So I know that's a little brain woo-woo science, but when you say, what's the customer thinking? What would you do next? Then they start to think, oh, this is where I pull out all those discovery questions that I was taught. Oh, well, this is where I pull out some of those pricing. This is where I pull out that transition to close for the meeting. And so they're learning and building step by step those neural pathways. I mean, we've seen programs where we reduce their time to quota by more than 100%. that's half.
Yeah.
That's a huge revenue gain.
Yeah.
And the pause game is my secret weapon to that. So hopefully try it sometime with your coaching clients and see if it works.
That's very cool. And so then there's a contrast of what would you do next versus what they actually did do next.
Right. And then you listen and they're like, oh, they didn't hear it. They couldn't tell the customer was talking about this or that. Yeah, 100%.
If only I had that pause technique available with that rep that said, okay, never mind, thanks. Right?
Right?
Yeah,
Pause.
what would you do next? Yeah.
They
I don't know, I'd
missed
hang up.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know what? I think that celebrating failures is a really important part of building confidence. When you're listening to game tape, if you have an opportunity as a leader to have a call library out there, make sure you have a fantastic fail folder and put your own calls in there, right? This is the move from trying to be perfect, which we all think we should be, which is a confidence crusher, to enabling that growth mindset. Another great book and theory that really impacts sales. If we're always trying to get better and we're not afraid of failure, what if we actually celebrated failure? It would make a difference. And I have a fun story to tell about that if you'll let me. Is that okay?
Please.
So part of what we're doing in Girls Club, which is this program designed to help more women get into the top of revenue positions. We have competency training, which is our Factor 8 manager training. And we have community where they're getting role models and mentors. But that secret sauce is the second leg of the stool, and that's confidence building. And our strategy around building confidence quickly with future managers, current sellers, individual contributor to the first line. By the way, that's called the broken rung, right? Everybody hears about the glass ceiling, but the broken rung is the first position.
I've never heard that before, and it makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
When you fix that broken, I'm telling you what, Lee, they take off like rockets.
Yeah.
There are women who came through our program 4 years ago as a rep who are VPs now, like rockets. Anyway, the second leg of the stool is the secret sauce, and that's confidence building. And we do that by implementing this strategy of quashing perfectionism. When perfectionism is high, confidence is low. When we can bring down the need for perfectionism, the confidence can go up because the two can't share the same room, right? Like perfectionism sucks all the air out of the room. They're mutually exclusive.
Because perfection is impossible.
Yeah. So we do this by celebrating the 3 F's: fears, failures, and fuck ups.
There we go.
And we have this whole session, we call them Rise Up on Records, where we get amazing top level leaders, our mentors, and they record these little confessionals. Like some of them have done it with curlers in their hair and bathrobes or middle of the night. And something beautiful happens. These women binge them. Like, oh my gosh, the head of sales for IBM is afraid of her meeting with the board of directors. I'm not weird. She's scared too. And if Lauren's fucking up this stuff all the time and she's successful, then gee, I guess I could go for it. And so we get risk taking to start to go up.
Yeah.
And that's the big difference when you look at women and men. I know mass generalities aside, but men will ask for raises more often. Men will toot their horn more often.
Absolutely.
And the women have learned to step back and wait. And so the whole goal is to get them to take more risks. And our answer is decrease perfectionism, increase the spotlight on fears, failures, and fuck ups. And everybody can steal that idea. It makes a big difference. Like we've had a boss call us after a woman was in the program for literally 3 days out of 5 months. And he called and he's like, what did you do to Julia? Because she showed up on Monday different than she was on
awesome.
Friday. And we went and looked and she had binged all the Rise Up on Records.
Yeah. So this is some version of always do your best. And always do your best is dependent on your day, dependent on the situation. It's not always do the best. It's not always be perfect. It's do your best.
I find that we have to be pretty in tuned and pretty authentic to be aligned with that, Lee. Because today, I knew coming into it, my best wasn't going to be the best. Just not feeling it today. It is not the right day for me to be making outbound sales calls. It is not the right day for me to go and figure out the new financial model, right? Like I needed to pick other stuff for today. I'm having trouble forming words. Sorry for you and your listeners that that's today. But always do your best means giving yourself a break when your best today isn't the best of all time because we're human.
We are human. There's only one person that's going to run the fastest time at the marathon, and everyone else is not. Now, I might run my best. I might not. And you know what? Whether I run a 2-hour flat half marathon, which would be 15 seconds better than my best, or I walk the last half hour, still complete, whole, and perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm working on my 13-year-old with this growth mindset. And it's tough. It's really tough. It's, not being proud of how he played in his volleyball game, but then complaining about the mistakes from all the other players. And, it's like perfection's not the goal. It's so much harder when you're doing it with a parent hat on. And we've tried the same thing of the 3-in-1, right? Like, all right, great. You're right. That one thing that was a mistake. What were 3 things that went well? Like trying to reprogram the brain to focus on the positive. No, it's not fucking working at all. Give me a tip. Any other ideas? What do you do to keep that focus on the positive and the growth mindset?
Well, this is no accident. My blood type is B positive. I'm just wired that way, so to speak, mixing metaphors as it were. For me, it's all about context. And a larger context always has hold over a smaller context. A smaller context, it might be, I hope this meeting goes well. A larger context is together we win. If together we win is the context for the meeting's going to go well. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
I guarantee it. And so if one of my kids comes to me with a question, I might rephrase the question into the larger question of, so why are we doing that? I know that's what happened. What's the why? What are you looking to accomplish? And has the game changed based on this one thing that happened? I could have that same question with an enterprise rep. Yeah, they canceled the meeting. What does that mean in the greater context of helping them with patient outcomes? Are they still committed to patient outcomes? Are you still committed to helping them improve patient outcomes? Then don't let anything get in the way of that. Oh, that reminds me, Lauren. I had a coaching client who had a deal potentially fail that would have affected patient outcomes at the 90-yard line. And I said, it's time to get angry. Not because you want to close the deal, but because it might affect patient outcomes. And he came back and he said, okay, number one, that worked. The deal's closed. It was like $250K. And second, I'm going to get angry earlier. I go, good.
Yeah.
Show passion.
I love that. Yep. You're tying it to the bigger question, and the bigger context is beautiful. And you're such a natural coach, Lee, because you did it in the form of a question. So
yeah, of
that's
course.
Perfect. I'm trying that after our next volleyball game.
One of my favorite books is The Art of Facilitation. And there's only 2 learnings. If you skip the book but want the 2 highlights, the first is only ask questions, because asking questions lands the learning. Telling or teaching or selling does not land the learning, right? And second is, I can't remember the second. Oh, right. Shit. Yeah. Always be humble, which I have to constantly remind myself.
That's a good reminder.
It's leave your ego at the door, because as the facilitator, it's never about you. As the salesperson, it should never be about you. When I was early on in my sales career, my sales manager said, and this is retail hi-fi, he said, you have to ask for the order. It's like, okay, I got it. He said, think of the customers as bags of groceries. And, think of them as the way you're going to pay your food bill.
Your rent check. Yeah.
Your rent check. It didn't work at all. They literally ran screaming and yelling from the shop. The purpose of selling is not selling, it's buying. And I turned it around. The purpose of selling was to get money.
Yeah, it's tough. But I like what you said earlier. When I go into a day, today I'm going to make a difference. Today I'm going to help people feel more successful. Today I'm going to help people win more often, right? Today we're all going to win together. And it's the higher level why and meaning. And when I focus in on that, the outcomes are always better.
Next time you and I talk, I'll share a little technique of creating purpose. It's called a CPR, context, purpose, results, and I'll map it out with you, show you how it works. It's something that I do before important meetings. It's a great little exercise. Sometimes I do it with a group without telling them I'm doing it. And so we'll create a shared context, and I'll refer back to it in the middle of a meeting. Guaranteed, if a meeting's going off the rails and you look down and see the context that you've written on your sheet in advance, comes right back on. And usually my context is together we win.
I like that.
I can't do it myself. I can't improve patient outcomes at Cincinnati Children's Hospital. Together, my coaching client and I can, because he owns the account for this 3-letter company I can't mention. So together we work on that. Together we win. Together Cincinnati Children's wins. Together the patients and the staff win. So that's the incredible leverage I get from what I do. Lauren, where can people find you?
Find me on LinkedIn. You won't see Shar out there. You will see Lauren Bailey. You can find my sales training company, Factor 8, at factor8.com.
Factor and number 8.com.
The factor, then the number 8.com. And then you can enroll a high potential woman in sales or marketing or customer success or service and get her launched quickly into management at wearegirlsclub.com.
wearegirlsclub.com.
Yeah. And Lee, this one's exactly for you. You can learn more about being surrounded with amazing leaders and human beings at legacy.vip. You're our people. Yeah. I like what you stand for. I like your authenticity. I like how much you're there to help the people that you work with in the next generation. And that's who we're always trying to attract.
And right back at you, Lauren. And just in summary, the 3 C's stand for?
Confidence, curiosity, and coachability.
Love it. Lauren, this has been fabulous.
Yeah. Oh, it's always been fun. It goes by so fastly. I can't wait to talk again. And I'll tell you a refresher on Landmark after 20 years and what the kids got out of it.
Yeah.
It'll be fun. And I can't wait to hear about CPR.
We will book some time. Thanks, Lauren.
I look forward to that. Thank you.
Another deep dive into the topic of sales excellence and the performance mindset. If you found this conversation interesting, I would appreciate it if you would share the podcast with a coworker or two. And to explore this topic in more depth, send me a note via the contact form on podcast.thoughtsonselling.com or find some time for us to talk at meet.acellergroup.com. Thanks.